You ever stop and think about all of the invisible stuff that's just working? The things that make sure our world doesn't grind to a halt? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important concepts you've probably never even heard of: operational resilience.
So, picture this. It's a normal morning. You roll over, grab your phone, maybe you need to check your bank balance, pay a bill, whatever. But what happens when it all just breaks? Bam! Your banking app is down. Just gone. No access.
And that bill you absolutely had to pay today? Nope, frozen. You are completely stuck.
And all your data, your history, it's just inaccessible, right? This is way more than an inconvenience. It's a full-blown personal crisis.
Okay, so when a disruption stops being just annoying and becomes something much, much worse, there's actually a name for that. It's the red line, the point of no return that companies are not supposed to let you cross.
And that red line is called intolerable harm. This is the big one. This is where things get serious. We're not talking about a slow website anymore. We're talking about real damage to people's lives, damage that, might not even be fixable.
So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, regulators are looking for stuff like major personal stress, serious financial losses, or maybe your private data getting leaked. I mean, think about being locked out of your money for days, not being able to pay your rent or buy food. They even worry about the big picture, like losing trust in the whole financial system. So the big question is, how do these companies stop us from ever getting to that point? Well, the answer is this really clever, structured system. You can think of it like a city's emergency services, right? A whole team of people with 4 distinct lines of defense, all working together to protect you and me.
So you've got these 4 layers. The first line is your risk owners. Think of them as the firefighters right there on the scene. Then you have the second line, governance. They're like the city planners, the ones writing the rule book. The third line is oversight. That's kind of like the mayor's office, keeping an eye on everything. And finally, the fourth line, independent assurance. These are the outside inspectors who come in to make sure everyone is actually doing their job right.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty here. Your first line, that's the business and tech teams who are in the trenches every single day. The second line is made up of specialized resilience teams. They're the experts who provide the frameworks and tools. The third line, that's the executives, the big bosses. Their job is to oversee everything, and crucially, to challenge it. To ask, are we really sure this is good enough? And then you have that fourth line, the auditors. They come in from the outside and give that totally independent stamp of approval, confirming the whole system is solid. And what's absolutely key is that each line has to be independent, so there are no conflicts of interest.
Okay, so we know who's on the job, but how do they actually do it? This isn't just making it up as you go along. No, there's a playbook, a really meticulous, step-by-step guide designed to prepare for the worst-case scenario long before it ever has a chance to happen.
In this image here, it shows the core idea perfectly. It's a never-ending cycle. You're always discovering what's important, then planning and mapping it all out. Then you have to validate it, test your plans, and then govern the whole process. And it never, ever stops. Because guess what? The threats never stop either.
So this whole life cycle is built on a really methodical process. First, they have to identify the most important services, the ones you can't live without. Then, they get the top execs to agree on how much disruption is tolerable. Next, they map everything, and I mean everything, from you, the customer, all the way back to every single tiny supplier in the chain. And finally, they validate it all by testing their plans and then maintain the whole thing year after year.
And, inside that big playbook, there are other specialized toolkits, like the NIST cybersecurity framework. This is basically the gold standard for managing cyber risks. It helps companies identify threats, protect their systems, detect an attack when it happens, and then respond and recover. It's a huge piece of the puzzle.
So what kind of disasters are they actually planning for? This is where it gets really interesting, almost like a Hollywood movie. We're not talking about a single server failing. They plan for what they call severe but plausible scenarios. Things like a ransomware attack so devastating it's basically an extinction-level event for the company. Or what about a massive solar flare, like the one that happened back in 1859, that could literally fry our electronics? It's all about preparing for the kind of stuff you hope never, ever happens.
So all of this, I know the lines of defense, the playbooks, the doomsday scenarios, it could all sound super corporate and abstract. But here's the thing. It all boils down to one simple, really powerful idea, and that's protecting you.
And this right here, this is the mission statement. It's the engine behind everything we've been talking about.
In the UK, it's actually a rule called the consumer duty. And that one little phrase, act to deliver good outcomes, wow, that represents a massive shift in how companies have to think.
See, the old way of thinking was, a firm must treat them fairly, which sounds nice, right? But it's kind of passive. The new rule says a firm must act to deliver good outcomes. See the difference? It's a huge leap from being passive to being proactive. It forces companies to stop and ask themselves, hey, are our customers actually getting the good results they expect and deserve from us?
So, what does this all mean for you at the end of the day? Well, it means the companies you depend on now have to know which of their services are most critical to your life. They have to figure out the absolute maximum amount of disruption you can tolerate before it causes that intolerable harm, and they are required, by law, to test their plans to protect you. The whole game has changed. It's not just about fairness anymore, it's about actively delivering good outcomes. Your needs are finally at the absolute center of the whole operation.
And that brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? This whole system, this amazing playbook, is built for the threats we know about today. But what happens tomorrow? As the risks keep evolving from super smart AI-driven cyber attacks to wild climate events, our resilience playbooks have to evolve right along with them. And that's the real challenge for all of us, making sure the systems that protect us are always one step ahead of the things that threaten us.